Well, hello there, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Welcome to another episode of The Golden Image of Churchianity is a Lie. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and go through 2 Peter 2 today, and we'll see if we go to 3. I don't know. Uh, but I really want to illustrate, again, I get to be called a false teacher all the time. Everybody will, I mean, it's pretty funny because even reading I've been reading the Satanic Bible just to see what they're doing. I've been reading up on witchcraft, and I've been reading up on all these things, uh, trying to understand where they're coming from. But the more that I look at witchcraft and I look at Satanism, because like the Satanic Bible is not really about Satan. It's just getting people's attention. It's really saying that there's no such thing as, that they are opposed to any religion at all. Any self deprecation, any self control. I mean, it's all about embracing your desires. And witchcraft, by and large, is you visualize something and then you do what's necessary spiritually or ritualistically or whatever you're going to do in order to exercise your will to get to that image or curse or whatever you're trying to do. Okay. Well, when you look at the religious systems, it's the same way. It's you're visualizing an idea of what you think a good Christian is, and then trying to conform to that. Then you have people who are doing the same thing, and you're like kind of like a pep rally, encouraging each other to do those things. And we call it behavior modification or outward sanctification or outward works, fleshly works, whatever you want to call it. But they're the same. It's not much difference. And the one thing that I thought was pretty funny about the Satanic Bible is he noticed a lot of things. He just really did. He says, that he's saying how unfairly, if there was a devil, how he'd be being treated, and he goes because without him they would have no church, right? It's like he's like the yin to the yang, right? You don't have if you don't have him, you don't have the religious, right? Which is true. I mean, he's really right on the nail, but he doesn't he doesn't look to the power of Christ. He doesn't understand what's at stake spiritually. He's still looking to people's hypocrisies and other things, and he's equating the religious systems with Jesus, and Jesus has nothing to do with the religious systems. And there's another band I really like, and the name is Ghost, and they're a rock band, and they everyone says they're satanic, but their lyrics are exposing the religious lies, and so you're going, well, I don't know how much, you know, whether they're on the anyway. They're revealing a lot of the hidden truths, which we kind of have to know because unless we know God, we're doing the same thing. We're going about to exercise our will to establish our own righteousness, which, strictly speaking, is witchcraft. So, anyway, I've been seeing reading the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, and it's on the CIA website if you guys want to look for it. Just go to Google and type in the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, and type in PDF, and it'll take you right to the CIA main website, and you'll be able to access it, download it there, and read it yourself. And you're gonna see that there's been an active conspiracy by the Masons or Satanists of anyway. Let's just call it Satanists. There's the Prairie to Zion. There's all these things. Dan Brown and wrote about a lot of these things. He has a wrong interpretation of what's going on because he doesn't know the authority of Christ. But he know that a lot of this research that Dan Brown went through would have had to have been through these kind of circles. Any of you that have read the Da Vinci Code or any of that kind of stuff. But Constantine, it was Satan's effort into becoming the head of the church. So just after, I mean, within the first 500 years, the church was completely corrupted. There was almost no trace. They'd already killed off all the believers, the true believers, or drove them into hiding. There's, we have never ever known it, and any of our Christian writings have never been from a place that is not fallen. It's completely apostate, completely subject to witchcraft, right? To your will. That's all it is. And so free will has been a god. I mean, making you your own god from a very long time. And you don't have anything else to judge it other than the pure writings of the apostles themselves. Because there are some great writers throughout time. Great people had bits of understanding and illumination, but not to where they escaped the world, right? So anyway, um, I just want to kind of keep going along this idea because all Satan has to do to you is to create instability, right? Instability inside your conscience to believe there's some way you can be lost or 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 there's some way that you could obtain some sort of higher level of any kind or anything. And I really like the idea um, when Noah's Ark, whenever it was built, it was like it was built together. Then all the cracks were it was covered with slime and bitumen all over it, all over the outside, inside, and everywhere. So it was like completely covered in tar. And so it was very explicitly said that it was covered in tar. It really makes a huge difference because that could have been left out because that would have just been assumed. But whenever you see that when you're in Christ, what he does is there's three levels in the ark of Noah, right? And it's like the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You know, you have the layout of the tabernacle, the outer court, inner court, holy of holies. You have this all broken down, and the fourth part being the Ark of the Covenant, represented with the eight people of Noah. I mean, everywhere you see this breakdown. So So what happens is that there's this ark that is absolutely impenetrable by water, right? There's no way out, no way in. It's completely watertight. So now, whenever God Himself closes the door in there, it's like it's like the seal of the absolute security that there is nothing that can get in there. Nothing else is there. Nothing can get in there. Nothing that defiles. Anything that is not in that door can't get in, and anything that's inside can't get out. And that's just kind of a picture for us. It's watertight, airtight. That that God is producing in us this airtight confidence in Him, because in doing so we cannot be used for evil. The satanic how do I say compulsion, or the way they get you to work, is they use some sort of instability. They say, so let's just use, I'll use the church how it's satanic. Okay, what they do is they use some sort of instability, death, hell, rejection, burning for eternity, losing your family. I mean, there's a fear that can be exploited. And so what they'll do is they'll come alongside you and say, "Oh yeah," and they convince you that you're worthy of this hell, that you're gonna go there unless you there's got to be the way out, and Jesus is the way. But we're gonna keep going with me. So then what they're gonna do is say, "Well, then if you want to come with Jesus, you come to our church." And so, anyways, so you have thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And so the only way that they could get you in there was through that initial fear, right? And so Satan uses that in everything he does, that instability, insecurity. He uses it and threatens it over you, and then he provides the threat, then he provides the solution, then he gets you to join his system. And that's just the way it is, whether it be Satanism, Christianity, Mormonism, Buddhism, anything that is fear driven. Anyone that came to church because they're afraid of going to hell, you've fallen for the Hegelian dialect. It's not, you didn't come in based upon security, you came in on insecurity, right? Fear. So then the true way into the entering to the kingdom of heaven is through absolute security. So You cease from your works, and you just kind of you just mold right in through the pearly gates. You don't have to do anything. What time is it right now? Okay, we got some time. We don't. You don't have to do anything. It's you're doing things is actually preventing you from just relaxing and going through the door. And any of you guys watch Harry Potter or anything like that? Excuse me. There's a reminder on my phone. Whenever you there's the part when I think it's the whenever they're going to get to find the sorcerer's stone or whatever, and they get caught in that devil's snare. And so the more you struggle, the more it kills you, right? And it was just like the answer. There was two answers to that, right? The one was just relax, rest, and then you'd fall right through. The same thing with is, and if you couldn't rest, then what would happen is that they used light to burn it up, right? Light was it. So light or rest, rest preferably, light definitely, right? And it's the same way. Whenever fear has you, shame or guilt or self righteousness in any way, it's causing you to. There's this instability in your mind, which the body, which causes you to make bad decisions. You're swaying to and fro. You're uncertain. They call it to be drunk, right? It's you're being drunk, you're being drunk not with the Holy Spirit, but being drunk with the world, and that drunk means this instability. You don't know which way is the right way. You're caught up in all these vain and useless janglings and all these different arguments and all this other stuff that mean nothing. So then to become sober, that whole system has to be removed from your mind. All instability, all insecurity, all fear, any possible avenue of destruction or loss of any kind for anything. Once you stand in the stability of God and you're ushered into the kingdom. It's not a matter of you willing it, wanting it, desiring it. It's never been by your free will, by your choices, never, because you don't have the agency. You don't have a broad enough knowledge. You don't know enough. It'd be like you're an infant, and then someone's telling you, okay, choose, and whatever you choose will be binding the rest of your eternity. It's stupid to even think the idea that the church system professes. And again, it causes instability. It's ludicrous. It like, how do I say? There's a cognitive dissonance, which gets you to believe something so ridiculous. But then that you don't really believe it. You're just saying you believe it. And Jesus pointed this out. He says, if any of you, if your hand causes you to offend, it's better to cut off your hand or remove your eye. He says it's better than to go to punishment or eternal hell, right? Well, what he was saying was making a joke, and not a joke. He was ridiculing them, saying, if you really believe what you're saying right now, if that was really truly your conviction, then anytime you sinned, you would gouge out your eye or cut off your hand, because it's better than what your say is coming. And so you look at all these pastors preaching hell and all the reasons why, and it's because it's unbelief and because of their sins and whatever else. Well, if he really believed that, he'd have to cut off all of his appendages and cut out his eyes and his heart and everything else, rather than go to hell, the hell he's teaching, because it's just bullshit. There's no congruency. There's no conviction. It's just rattled off words that don't make any sense, which is, again, cognitive dissonance because of the Hegelian dialect, right? It's all the satanic way, and that's what keeps people stuck, because they're all the words that they use, like hell, to them it's this eternal flame burning, and people being tortured. To us, hell is just the grave. It's just where dead people go. It's a container until the time God cleanses it out, then throws death and hell in the lake of fire. We don't see it the same way. They think salvation is not going to hell. We think we know salvation is the regeneration, being brought back into mint condition like God originally intended through the Spirit. through the Spirit of holiness, and that being that stability that we have in Christ, regenerating our spirits and thereby our bodies. So their end goal is trying to get out of heaven and hell. We're trying to be remade after the image of God. We're trying to yield unto him so that we can be made back to mint condition and be able to dwell in his presence. And they're just like, it's still this idea of everything is wrong. Like the whole plan is wrong. The whole goal is wrong. Everything in the Christian church is false. All it does is leads to more insecurity, more doubt, more arguments, more divisions, more separations, more fear, more. It's just more self-righteousness, and every single thing that it does, it produces nothing but what Satan wants. They'll call us a false teacher because we don't believe, we don't follow their devised man-made institutions. We don't care. And so they, being so fully convinced they're right, and they're not really convinced. They're just pretending. It's because they're afraid if they're wrong, they're going to go to the hell that they're afraid of, right? So, anyway, when you're unstable, you are drunk. You're not able to be regenerated, and that's where Satan wants to keep you. And that's why everyone who has tried the religious way, every single one who has joined any religion of any type, anyone who has done any self work or self sanctification, modification, whatever you want to call it, anyone who has done that has ultimately died. Every single one. There's not been one person who has overcome according to that standard. The reason why is we were all blind. Nobody could see, and we all just kept doing what our fathers did because they were already trapped in the cognitive dissonance. And so they trained us to be in the cognitive dissonance. It's just the way it is, guys. It's just we deny the absolute. And if you really believed that sinners are going to hell, you'd be ripping out your eyes, and you'd be cutting off your own hands. You would be. It's really the truth. If you really believe that God was that vile and evil, and that he was unyielding and unmerciful like you say he is, oh, he's mercy for those that believe in him, but the rest of them, you don't get what you're saying. You're saying God's fickle, unable, his blood wasn't enough. He declared that everything was very good before creation, and you're saying that he can't restore everything back to that. You're saying he's weak. You're saying on the other side of that Satan has the power to corrupt and to over corrupt things to where his grace isn't sufficient. Anyway, it's enough monologuing for this morning. But let's go ahead and start with chapter 2 in 2 Peter. He says, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily or sneakily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them." This is a very big deal. How do you deny a Lord that bought you? Well, you say you have to believe, accept, repent. Not those people. They're going to burn. You don't understand. You're denying that he bought you whenever you say, I'm a Christian, I joined this denomination, I picked the right religion, I believed, I accepted, I pay tithes, I go to church every Sunday. You know what I mean? I was a usher, I was this, I was that. I became a missionary, I became a pastor, an elder, a deacon, a bishop, whatever you did. Every single bit of those things reveals your nakedness and your lack of faith. And it shows that you don't believe Jesus. You might believe there was a Jesus, but you don't believe him. And bringing upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, and this pernicious is meaning back and forth, unstable ways. It's unstable. By reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And so this is what's going on, because they preach that instability, and everybody is underneath that cognitive dissonance. Whenever they point to us because we are different than them, they malign our way, and our way is not our way. Our way, we say Christ is the way. We have nothing to do with this. But because of the church, the way of the Lord is maligned. I mean, even Jesus said to the Pharisees, "You think the church is any different than the Pharisees today?" He says, "You encompass sea and land to find a student, and as soon as you do, you make him twofold the son of hell that you are." He says, "Woe unto you! Outside you look like, these beautiful whited sepulchres, but you're full of dead men's bones." He says, "Your father is the devil, because the father was your father was a liar from the beginning." I mean, this over and over and over again. Christ is trying to get it across to you. The religious are the evil, right? He didn't call. He says your father's the devil. Then he goes to the woman at the well, or these other women that were caught in adultery or whatever. And he calls them daughter. You're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. He says your father is the devil, but this is my daughter. What's going on? Because you're looking for outward perfection and goodness according to the law, not realizing. You'll say the law is fulfilled in Christ, but you still got to follow it. You know what I mean? And it's just, there's no righteousness there. And so Jesus is calling these, what we thought were sinners, he calls them his sons, daughters. What we perceive to be religious, he calls the sons of Satan and daughters of Satan. That doesn't make any sense, right? But we got to realize the sinner is providing no stumbling block. They're just sinners. They're just doing what sinners do. They're not condemning other sinners for being other sinners. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go to hell because they're just trapped. They're not going about trying to prevent other people from coming to the kingdom and misrepresenting God in any way. Right? They're really not. The ones that are misrepresenting God are the ones that we popularly think as religious. Okay, and so the truth, so then their pernicious ways, unstable, back and forth, by reason of whom the way of the truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness they shall with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now a long time lingers not, and their damnation slumbers not. Okay. Through covetousness. So they will appeal to your instabilities. They'll appeal to your lusts. They'll appeal to what you really want. They'll appeal to the emptiness and the lacks inside of you in order to get you to come. Watch. With feigned words, they make merchandise of you. So then they're what they say is love is false, right? Their words are false. And this is where it's interesting. They make merchandise of you. How do you make merchandise of it? That's buying and selling, transactional. That's transactional relationship. To where if you do this, then we'll do this. If you do this, then God will do this. It's all transactional. And that's what it means to be a merchant of men, or a merchandiser, right? It's transaction, not grace. They make feigned words. They make merchandise of you, whose judgment now a long time lingers not, and their damnation slumbers not. See, anyway. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and these angels are the ones that mixed with the women down to Tartarus, right? This is interesting. And delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Wait a minute. It doesn't say held in chains in darkness for eternity, but unto judgment. Weird. So then, if there's whatever this judgment is, anyway, that's kind of an interesting thing. I will tell you what I believe it is. That it's the actual coming to the knowledge of the truth, to seeing that Christ has done everything, and then that those fallen angels, whatever they've done, has been covered. And the reason the fallen angels were able to even mix with women is because of death entering the world. You get rid of death, You see what I mean? So Christ, he was linked all the way back to Adam in his genealogies. I mean, everything. Even when they crossed the Jordan, it went all the way back to it heaped up at the town of Jordan. I mean, at Adam. It's just, you got to see that everything that Christ has done was retroactive all the way back to the fruit being taken and eaten. And if Christ was put back on the tree, right? Dead, burial, and resurrection, it's like the fruit's been put back on the tree like nothing happened. So then the only way that there would have, so hell being death, right? The grave, that only happened because of death. The fallen angels mixing with women was only possible because the women were fallen. So then if you undo and that first transgression, you undo it all. Well, then it unravels. Death and hell are gone. But as far as you're concerned, that's just where you deserve. You're in your own conscience. You can't see outside of heaven and hell. All you can see is these carnal constructs, and that's what has absolute dominance over every decision, every movement you make. Therefore, you don't have free will. You're being commanded according to images in order to fulfill what's necessary to avoid the one and gain the other. To where that is complete deception. There's nothing there. It's completely a fabrication of your own mind. And this is how Satan traps you in the cognitive dissonance. But anyway, I want to see. So he says, and the chains to be reserved unto judgment. Not forever, just unto judgment. And he spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing the flood upon the world of the ungodly. So, anyway, let's go on. And turning the cities in Sodom of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemning them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that afterwards should live ungodly. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. And this is crazy why Lot was saved. But let's just go back real quick. So then you see the judgment that you're worthy of whenever you're supporting the worldly systems. You're no better than Sodom and Gomorrah. Even though you stand as a pastor in a church, you're no greater than the citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah. You're no greater than those that were perished in the flood. You're still doing the same things they were doing. You're still assenting unto the things that they're doing. And just Lot, really, I mean, okay, on the one side, we call him just, and probably, anyway, by contrast to those that lived in the city, he was much more just. But you realize that Lot was spared not just because he was the cousin, or was he a cousin or nephew? He was a nephew of Abraham, right? But it's not that. Without him and the incestuous relationships with his daughters, bringing about the Ammonites and the Moabites, Ruth would never have been born. And so Ruth is her son. It was Obed, Jesse, then David. So without Ruth, there'd been no David. Without no David, there would have been no Jesus. And it's like God in all of his divine plan. It's like he didn't miss a single beat all the way back to Adam, right? And he delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man, dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. So we have the angels that were cast down to hell, and this is Tartarus, and delivered them to be in chains of darkness, to be reserved unto the judgment. Then we have down here, the Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations and reserve the unjust for the day of judgment, to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh and the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these, as natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. Okay, so the severity of what they're doing is worthy of death with hell. It absolutely is. Good thing Christ took it upon himself, because I can witness to you that the church system is not doing it. I mean, there are some that are in the highest levels of the church system. They know what they're doing. The ones that are just normal everyday Christians, they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea they've been deceived. They have none. There's no idea. If Christ has not saved the entirety of all creation, then they would have to be lost to the hell that they say is reserved for those that are sinners, because they are qualified as sinners. Look, but chiefly, let's look at this. Chiefly them that walk after the flesh, and the flesh, you walk after the flesh because of instability, because of your own righteousness, your own images that you've set up that you call Jesus. And this is a good time. Every single person, from your first mistake and first feeling of shame, or your feeling of adulation when people lifted you up, you said, okay, whatever I am now, I want to do whatever is necessary. What can I do to get more praises and less rejections? And so then you take what you were and you go, okay, well, I'm going to do this. There's your first step on building the image that is going to control you the rest of your life. Then the next time, and pretty soon you you have the sum total of this idea of a better person that you should be like. And everybody's has no problem saying that they're doing this, that they have this idea of the person they should be and they want to be, and their goal is trying to get that. And everyone says, oh, this is a good thing you're doing. No, it's not. It's actually evil. It's corrupted. It's denying God's righteousness in order to create your own righteousness. You don't realize it because you're underneath the cognitive dissonance. So, as you get older, that image gets better. But that image doesn't work, and it gets you empty and tired. And then you go into the church system because you've finally given up on trying to make your image. It sucks so bad. It never produced any wholesomeness in you, no stability. Then you come into the church system and they teach you how to make that image even better. They give you good ideas. Well, why don't you do it like this? Why don't you make this? Why don't you do that? And you got to be baptized this way, and you got to say these things, and you got to confess this, and this is the premillennial or amillennial, and every little thing that is placed upon this image of righteousness is now set at the forefront of your mind. And instead of making you feel better and more stable and more comfortable and trusting in the Lord more, you become even more empty. And so you're trying even harder to reach towards that image. So it's like this image you make, as you get better at making it, it outpaces you. So you're trying to get to that image. You're struggling to get to that image. And then what happens is that because you have not known the true, real Jesus, because you've been deceived by your own image, you call that image Jesus or Buddha or whatever, right? So then this Jesus is 100% a figment of your imagination, derived, developed, built because of the accusation of the enemy and your unbelief in God. So imagine having to unravel that entire thing by yourself. It would be impossible, right? To unravel that false Jesus. Well, the easy way is you just look over and see the true Jesus, and immediately you go, fuck, I did all that work for friggin' nothing. And on top of it, it worked against the one I love. You're like, son of a... And you're like, oh, well, I'm thoroughly and totally convinced I cannot put any trust in my flesh, right? So, now, he says, and they despise government, meaning it's all their will. They have to have their rights and their choices, and it's all, they're completely not subject to God. They are presumptuous. They think that they know the way. Their righteousness is the only way, the right way. They presume everything because of the cognitive dissonance, right? They are self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities, meaning that they're calling all these people whom God has justified evil, telling them they're going to go to hell because of what they're doing, even though the religious are doing the same deeds. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. So you're backwards. And so the true messengers or angels of the Lord don't bring these accusations, because they know the accusations can only lead to the deception, to the building up of the false image, to the absolute enslavement of mankind. But these people clearly don't understand that, because they keep producing accusation, like their father, the devil. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. That's coming. That's why there's a lot of people that are going to go to the grave. They're going to have to be resurrected. But there's this one interesting thing. But they're these brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed. And the language in Isaiah is very similar to that. And I think it's, let me see if I can find it real quick. I think it's Isaiah 28. Let me see. Hopefully it is. But it talks about how in that, oh yeah, right here. Okay, so then this is the whole thing, because once you see this, it's gonna blow your mind. Because everywhere you see that men, they say, well, you got to read the Bible line upon line, precept upon precept. That's what you do. Nope. Watch. He says, but they have erred. Let's see. But they have also erred. And this is 28:7. Go check it out, because there's even more context before and afterwards. But for time, I got to start here. But they also have erred through wine, and through strong drink they are out of the way. And that is the instability that makes you drunk. The flesh, your own will, your rejection of the completed works of God, right? Dependence upon your own flesh and your own believing, accepting, and repenting, and etc. Blah, 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 But they have erred through wine and through strong drink, and are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, that there is no place clean. He is talking to the religious and the kings. He is talking about the whole system. Just like now, just like then, they're like, oh, what do you mean? I'm standing in the temple. I'm wearing the right clothes. I'm saying the right words, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, no, you're not. Your heart is far from what your lips are saying and what God is, who God really is. You're completely backwards. Hold on. Ooh, that felt good almost. Anyway, if I get it one more, okay. But he says, whom shall he teach knowledge, and to whom shall he make to understand doctrine? And this is talking about God, right? Who's he going to make to understand God? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breasts. He says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. So there's a contrast going on here. So this is what the religious are saying, line upon line. But then let's see what Jesus says. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they may be broken and fall backwards and be broken, ensnared and taken. So, anyway, it's really what we've been taught is exactly backwards, and people profess it proudly from their mouths. But this is right here. So, but these as natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed. They speak evil of the things that they understand not, and they shall utterly perish in their own corruption. And this is what it's referring back to. Oh, well, I mean, it's just Isaiah was saying the same thing, right? and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as that they count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. So they're proud of it. They walk around absolutely joyful that they're in full deception. They come and sit and eat with you. Oh, hey, brother, and they're completely. Anyway, it's like they have no shame. They'll sit there and call themselves your pastor as they push you towards hell. Having eyes full of adultery, they cannot cease from sin, because they call themselves sinner. All their works are from the position of sin and the insecurity with God. Beguiling unstable souls. Unstable souls. This is why I'm trying to stabilize your soul. I'm trying to put you absolutely on solid ground to get you to reject all the pernicious ways of the religious, so that you can have absolute confidence in your 100% reconciliation, your 100% glorification, your absolute belonging to the household of God. Not because you believed or made any will yourself or exercised any part of your will, but because he was faithful and he raised from the dead. And that being raised from the dead was all that was necessary to make you 100% saved. I mean, salvaged, brought new, made back to completely regenerated. Okay. Now, they cannot cease from sin. They beguile unstable souls, and heart that they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and have gone astray, fallen the way of Balaam, the son of Behor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. And the wages of unrighteousness just isn't money. That is something that the church systems long for. They need it, otherwise they can't survive. But it's also for people to believe them, to worship them, to acknowledge them, to get a following, in order to make an empire. It's all satanic. But was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumbass, speaking with a man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water. So they're a well, and you're thirsty. You're like, oh, I get to get some water, and you're like, wait a minute, there's no water in here. Oh, these are some clouds coming. Their clouds are carried with a tempest. Clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the midst of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh. So they're appealing to your lusts, not for sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but your emptiness. They're appealing to because they themselves have the same needs you do, and they promise you that those needs will be fulfilled. So they appeal to your lusts, but you never get there. You never are satisfied. You're never there. You become more conscious of your sin. So, through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same he is brought into bondage. And this is what happens is that your lusts have been appealed to, you've been deceived, you've been promised the world and delivered nothing. But because you've agreed with your sin and you've made a covenant with death and hell, you are easily manipulated because you're unstable souls. I'm going to tell you right now, if everyone was stable upon the Lord, you'd look over to the church systems and go, why are we doing all this? It's useless. It's actually denying the stability of God. So, for if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and the Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse than the beginning. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. So, the mire, all the stuff that you return to is uselessness. It's absolutely useless. It denies God, denies your own salvation. It brings him down, lifts you up, puts Satan in a high place and all of the fallen angels. You're because of your drunkenness, because of your instability and insecurity, you can't make informed consent. You can't make good decisions. Just like you were drunk with wine or strong drink, you're not in your right mind. You first have to be made sober, sat down in your right mind, and see the actual truth. But as it is, you're being compelled, you're being threatened, you're being used and manipulated. They're appealing to your lusts for belonging, acceptance, home, which the things that they promise they never deliver on. But then once you see the truth that Christ has already received you, that you already have a home, that you've already been at home, you could have at any time acknowledged the Lord and sat down with him. You could have sat at the table and supped with him at any time. But because of the instability they cause you, you're excluding yourself from the kingdom. Anyway, and that's really all I got to say today. I just, our job is to create absolute stability and trust, stableness, absolutely anchor people on the rock to where they have no fears. We're going to, any crack that they can bring up, any possibility that they can say, well, what about, and you just go hack, hack, hack. And you don't do it by espousing doctrines at them. You do it by espousing Christ. Look what he's done. According to his own word, he has declared you very good and he has fulfilled it on the cross. This is the only place where rest can be. This is the entering to the Holy Spirit. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the door. He is the shepherd. He's the King of Kings. He's all knowing, all powerful, all present. He's outside of time. In every single way, we hold up Christ, not doctrine. Christ is our doctrine. All we do is, rather than compare to our gnosis, right? Or our oida, or actually it's oida, where it's just head knowledge, and it's just according to carnal distractions, right? We don't lift that up. We say, okay, well, you guys say that these people are going to go to hell. I'm going to say, well, Jesus overcame all that. He paid every debt, and then what you do is you try to get them to argue against Jesus. It's just, I don't have to do anything anymore. I go, well, Jesus said, Jesus did, Jesus fulfilled. And then I get them to try to deny it. And they have to deny it in order to say that those people are going to hell. In order to say that that religion is not the same as ours, or that religion is less than ours. And the whole reason why they denominate is because they say their way is better than the other way. Otherwise, they would have just stayed with the same congregation. It's always this split and fracture. It can only happen through self-righteousness. That anything that we can do or not do is what is producing some sort of salvation or not salvation, right? Our way is better somehow than their way, which all ways are evil besides Christ. I always like the picture of, like, you see this castle, which is the kingdom of heaven, right? And you see all these ladders and siege mounts, and it's like a completely force field that nothing can get through it. It's so powerful. All these people are trying to get in from different ways, dropping bombs on it. They're trying to get in all these different ways, Catholics, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, Mormons, and they're all it's like a full force attack from all angles trying to get into that. And all of a sudden you're a part of it, and you're like, trying to get in, and all of a sudden you look and you go, wait a minute, what's that over there? And you go over and you're like, well, you're like, and you go, and you look behind the veil and you go, wait a minute, this is already my home. I can get in here at any time. This is already mine. And all of a sudden you just go boop right through the barrier. You go right through the barrier. In this case is going to be a pearl. So you just go right through it. You enter right in. As soon as you see it was yours from the beginning, you go, why am I trying to fight to get into my own home? I can just use the door. You see what I mean? And they're like, it doesn't even occur to them to use the door because they're trying to get in some other ways, right? We can just use the door. It's really simple. So, my brothers and sisters, again, I want you to realize God is not trying to change you or fix you. You've already been foreknown and predestined. Whatever seed He planted in you is going to become what you are. You can pick any religion, what you want to pick. You can go right, left, deny, don't deny, and every single thing you do, no matter what, you will become what He has made you to be. It's just the way it is. You're a rose. You can fight all you want and beat yourself up all you want, or not beat yourself up, or do whatever you want, but eventually you're going to become that rose. It's just the way it works. You're not going to be you can't be a fruit or a weed. You're a rose. You can't change. You're a kind. So anyway, you've already been perfected, and now it's just taking all this bullshit and the lies you've been told off you. Anyways, my brothers and sisters, anyway, you've absolutely overcome because He's overcome. There's no crack you can fall through. There's no way you can be lost. There's nothing that can be lost eternally. Nothing at all. I mean, it's absolutely, we are so secure and safe inside of our kingdom, inside of our Father's house. We are absolutely secure. Absolutely nothing can remove us, not even ourselves. Once you know the truth, you can't even go back out the door. You can't deny it. Once you know the truth, you can't deny the truth. It's just impossible. And a lot of times, that like Peter right here is saying about these people, that if they fall away, you know what I mean? And even it says in Hebrews, if they fall away, to renew them unto repentance, seeing that they have crucified to themselves the Son of God afresh and put Him to an open grave. It's just all you'll have is a fearful understanding of impending judgment. That's all you'll have, which is what the church system, which is always over their heads, this impending fear of judgment. And we've already been judged. Worthy, very good. They have been too, they just won't hear it. So, all right, my brothers and sisters, hope all is well, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.